Let's get after it, folks. It's late. You could be anywhere. You've probably been anywhere today. Might be watching the Olympics, the Super Bowl, the big game. Who knows what you're up to? All I know is that there's video games to talk about. This week's not done. This podcast has to post tomorrow, 4 p.m. Central to all the podcast services. And that means we got to record one. I hope that's okay. I hope it's okay to record one. Good to see you out here tonight, across the internet, wherever you may be. Hope things are looking and sounding good to you. They're feeling pretty good to me in here. We've got a big show. Believe it or not, a big show. We got major gaming news. We got stuff going on with Arc Raiders. Really stay to the end for some Arc Raiders talk, if that's you. Some surprising Nintendo Direct announcements, including my favorite, my game of show. The thing I think we've got to talk about more than any other thing. We're going to talk about the Horizon Hunters Gathering. Not Horizon Hunters Wild. Not Monster Horizon. But there's a new game out in the Horizon franchise, and we got to talk about it. A new game announced. I assume it's coming out. Yeah, and towards the end of the show, we've got a little something that's called Arc Raiders Confessional. I need to try and absolve myself. So please stick around for that. But first, an important announcement. Carmageddon Rogue Shift has come out on the PlayStation, despite PlayStation kind of burying it, kind of not announcing that it was coming out, kind of hiding it, I think. They'd given a little bit of talk about it. Maybe they got the game in their hands and went like, oh, maybe this is like a B game. I don't know. Maybe this isn't the game that we thought it was. But let me tell you something about Carmageddon Rogue Shift. It came out on February 5th, 2026. I think it's on the Switch. I've played it on the PlayStation. It's out there on Steam. I streamed it. I did some video game streaming the other night just to let people get a feel for it. I also wanted to get a feel for it. And so I put it on the old internet and streamed it for about 90 minutes. And I played it a couple. The nice part about this type of roguelike is you can play it a couple minutes at a time. The races are only a few minutes long, and then you make your selections. You do the next thing in the map, whether it's go to the next node, which is a race or a really difficult race, or you repair your car, and you can pick up repair spots, repair pickups along the way. You don't have to just wait for the mechanic shop to repair it, but you can also get out there and upgrade all the weapons on the car, upgrade all the gear. It's really nice. They have, as you unlock things in their little book of upgrades using beat coins. Big fan of the beat coins. You can synergize just like any other roguelike. Like it's almost a formula that you could kind of see the bare bones of, and it's definitely bare in here. There's really no story. The story is that it's an apocalypse and there's zombies and you need to get out of town. And to do that, you have to beat these bosses and get out. That's that's it. That's really all they've talked about. And there's no dialogue in the game. There's no, no nothing. Like there's really no story at all. And I think that's fine because you just get right to it. So for me, it didn't, I was talking to a buddy, they're like, did you buy this game? I was like, yeah. They're like, why? Why? Why'd you buy the game? Well, I've been talking about it a lot. No, I can't afford to buy every game that I talk about. I could talk about a lot of video games out there, but to have the money to buy all the games or the time to think that you might actually play all those games are like three very different things along the way: the money, the time, and then just the desire. But this one fit into the most competitive price point in video games, which, as we know, is $39.99. It's my contention, remains my contention. And it's a bit of just a simple premise, man. You're gonna get out there and do some car combat, and you're gonna upgrade over time using more beat coins. And I think they have 15 cars in the game. I think I've upgraded like 6 or 7 of them so far. So the early parts of the beat coin book unlocking process goes really fast. I was like, this must be a very short game, or there's going to be a lot more cards later, or something's going to happen, because I was making almost too much progression, almost too quickly. And I was like, well, yeah, $40, whatever. Like I'm having a good time. Um, I went out to lunch I went out to lunch recently for this next story to justify the purchase of a video game, and it was $40 to go to lunch for 2 people. So, lunch was good. This game's good. There's $80. Like, living costs money, I guess. I don't know. What I do know is that I don't regret my purchase of Carmageddon Rogue Shift. But somebody talked to said, hey, isn't this going to come out on like Game Pass or PlayStation Game Catalog? I was like, totally. This is going to be an incredible game for a Game Pass, for Game Catalog, things like that. It's kind of perfect for that, actually. But if you're into car combat games, and there hasn't been a lot of them, there hasn't been, a Burnout in a while that you might care about. The Need for Speed games haven't really done a lot of like car destruction in a while. There's not a lot of these. And that was the point they made in like the Game Informer review, which I just, glanced at right before this show, which was there's really not a lot of these types of games anymore. And as a result, it's kind of unique and special. Game Informer gave it a 7.75. And if you don't know, that is a pretty good score in Game Informer terms. Some people will say, oh, 7 is like just 7 is the new 5. Just review inflation means that great games are 8s, 9s, 10s. And I think if you're into like the corporate world, that there's like a net promoter score. It's like, hey, your 9s and 10s are the people that really like your stuff, and your 7 and 8s are like kind of like even keel. And then you're like 4, 5, and 6 don't really like you very much. And your 1, 2s, and 3s really don't like you. So is that the same true for, the same is true for game rankings and ratings? I don't think that that's necessarily the case. But the more, prestigious, well thought out review is going to take a 7.75, which I don't know why they don't just go to 8. Love you, Game Informer, but just make it an 8, dude. Make it an 8 or a 7. Make a decision. Please make a decision. But they don't. They go right in the middle, or in 3 points in the middle between 7 and 8. Fine. It's a good game. I'm enjoying it, but you kind of I've shown enough. It's out there on the YouTube channel. If you want to go watch 90 minutes of me racing around in there, you're welcome to. Just take a look at my lives, and you can watch it in vertical format or horizontal and see if you like it. And if you like what you're seeing, I think I have no regrets. I think it's worth the price. It was up against the contrast of Karn, the rock climbing game, which is like $30, or this other game at $40, the Carmageddon. And I'm not sure I made the right choice there between the two of those, but outright, for the enjoyment I'm getting out of Carmageddon, I think it's pretty good. But you kind of need to know what you're getting into. It is a little jank. It's a little bit of a B game. The cars are a little floaty. Some of them are very heavy and they stick right to the road, no problem. And then some of the cars, they give you like a little warning. They're like, hey, look, just so you know, this one's kind of a jerk. But if you can handle it, if you can tame it, if you can get it to chill out, you're going to have a great experience with it. And sure enough, like that's the one I'm having the most fun with, is the one that was like absolutely out of control for me at first. So, make what you will of it. I think I've been enjoying it. I think you might too. But go check out the lives if you're not sure. I don't want you to come at me and go like, that was $40 I'll never get back. I don't know. Definitely a B game, like a classic B game that is really no frills. They have like hand animated, I assume it's hand animated, like boss intros. Like they made this thing on a budget, but the core gameplay is there, and that's kind of what matters. So like if you want a gameplay focus game, this is it. It got me thinking though, and someone posted about it on Threads about Star Wars Galactic Racer. And if you remember, Star Wars Galactic Racer was announced, I think, at the Game Awards. Like, I'm pretty sure it was, right there at the end of the Game Awards or somewhere in the middle. And this one is like an EA, I think, Criterion jam, a bunch of those, former Burnout developers making a Star Wars racing game. And, the tagline, if you go to the website, they're like, hey, there's no force, there's no Jedi. It's just you and the skills that you're bringing. So like it is a racing game, but you're kind of on the ground. It kind of, I think they've now confirmed that there will be pod racers in it, but in the trailer that they showed originally, it's like speeders, other land vehicles, other ships that like fly really low to the ground. Only you're not flying up and around. You're definitely like on a race course. And then if you go to the website and take a look at it, they say it is a runs based game, not run based game. I'm not sure why they say it like that. A runs based game. It's a roguelite. I don't think people have caught on to that, and I didn't notice it until I looked at it today. A runs-based Star Wars racing game. What else could that be in Star Wars Galactic Racer than exactly what they say it is? Runs-based equals rogue-like. They say it's coming 2026. Wish list today if you want to. So I think, maybe Carmageddon's walking so that Star Wars Galactic Racer can run, In Carmageddon is a little bit of Burnout. There's a little bit of, there's definitely roguelike in there. Now that I'm unlocking more of the unlock tree, like things are feeling pretty good. It's nice. Yeah. Looking forward to that. Hey, if you like the show, if you like what you're hearing and seeing, you can support me. Of course, you can subscribe wherever you like to listen to the podcast, to the YouTube version of the show. The Spotify version also has video if you'd like, but I care about it as an audio show, and hopefully you like having me around in your ears as you walk around and do things. But you can always head on over to the Patreon. Patreon.com/The Andy B Show is where to connect, to get out of the algorithm, to get out of the, I wonder if I'll see Andy B's content next time. If you go over to Patreon, you're definitely going to get the podcast every week and some quips and exclusive videos from me. So thank you for all of the subscribers out there. You could subscribe for free, or you can subscribe for money dollars and support the show because, look, somebody's got to buy Carmageddon, Until the show's big enough where they're sending me codes, somebody's got to buy it. You would be forgiven for not realizing that Carmageddon even came out, though. Because if you looked at the This Month on PlayStation post that they put out with all of the games they kind of want you to care about, there was one missing, and it's Carmageddon. It was on the PlayStation blog, and they didn't even put it in the post. Anyway, there are a lot of games coming out on PlayStation in February. What just came out a couple of days ago over the weekend was Neo 3, which is like a Souls-like Ninja Gaiden esque game. It's the third of the Neo games. It's not so much for me, but for people that are into it, it's good. Dragon Quest VII Reimagined just came out February 5th. There's some like World War II looking pilot combat game called Aces of Thunder. All right. Looking through this list to see if there's anything else I care about. Ride 6. I think that's a motorcycle game. High on Life 2. I did not play the first one. It's very quirky, like heavy-handed humor for me. Just a little much. I think it's made by the people that do Rick and Morty, which is a little heavy-handed for me. People like it. It just never connected with me. Resident Evil Requiem is one that comes out towards the end of the month. That's probably like one of the biggest releases of the month, after Carmageddon, right? And we'll see that it's I think a surprisingly coming out on the Nintendo Switch. When we get to the Switch news, we'll talk about that. But since I invoked the name of Nintendo, let's bring up some Nintendo news. Tokyo Game Life over on Threads brought up the Nintendo financials, kind of summarized some of these things. I think they probably grabbed them from Nintendo's official site. The important part is that the Nintendo Switch 2 has sold 17.37 million units of hardware. Seems like a lot. Is it faster or slower than the original Switch was selling? I don't know. But the first Switch has sold 155 million units at this point and surpassed the Nintendo DS. Congratulations to the Switch 1. Yeah. Software, 37.93 million units of software on the Switch 2. So that's like not quite a 4-to-1 attach rate. It's more like a 2-to-1. 2-to-1 attach rate. If it's me, I'm probably buying a bunch of small games. My attach rate's probably a lot higher. But I've definitely bought a couple big ones in there. So congrats to Nintendo. We got some more numbers related things. Another quick hit number news was about Arc Raiders. And again, stick around. We're going to do Arc Raiders confessional towards the end of the show because I need to absolve myself, or at least attempt. But the number for Arc Raiders, the first number, there's several numbers I'd like to share about it, but the first one was 0, which was they released a bunch of new events, one of them called Bird City, but they put the map conditions like on this 24-hour schedule, and they only had them in certain windows. So depending on like where you live, you could have a really easy or hard time getting to them if you work a traditional like day job. So there's a lot of folks that couldn't get to like play those modes. Like they had a bunch of times of the day that the modes weren't active. And I think to myself of the new Animal Crossing update that just came out where they have dream islands, and my kids have been going to the dream islands. They're like, Dad, look, I can make it 4 a.m. anytime I want. And I was like, does that mean that we can listen to the 4 a.m. music? Because that's hard to get to. Typically, they have it on Nintendo Music on the app. If you're a Nintendo Switch Online subscriber, you can listen to the 4 a.m. Animal Crossing during the rain music if you so choose. But the beats are slightly different at that time of day. And for the first time, they can just control it because they're never up at 4 a.m. Not at their age. Yeah, so that was the first number about Arc Raiders was 0. They said, hey, we're going to figure it out. We're going to try and like put these in more. They're trying to make it exclusive so you care about it a little bit. But there was a period of time during this last week where I logged in and there were like no special events going at all. It was like just you go play the maps like normal, and that's fine. But the special events in that game always give you like a reason to challenge yourself. It's like, oh, you want to go on a night raid? Well, the gear is better, but there's more enemies. There's less ways to get out of the map and extract. And so you're more at risk. Would you like to amp up the risk versus reward? And even having the option there makes you feel like, maybe I should, maybe I should crank up the difficulty a little bit. Maybe I should take some better gear topside. So it's weird when there's no events. Even if you don't choose to do them, you kind of want the events to be there. One more by the numbers thing on Arc Raiders, as I promised, which is it's like $1 billion game now. It's like $1 billion. Apparently, they spent $75 million making the game, and they've crossed. I've seen different reports. Some of them said 12, some of them said 15 million copies sold, and so they're like on a trajectory. They can kind of go like, how's the game going? And until March 5th, when Marathon comes out, they can get a pretty good idea of how it's selling. We'll see what happens when Marathon comes out. If it puts a dip or a dent in the player count, I assume it will. I don't know how much. Arc Raiders is pretty good. People are probably going to come back around. First person versus third person shooting is very different. That's actually probably one of the biggest things that's going to be different about those games, I think, is that first person versus third person. Obviously, the vibe is totally different. the huge arcs versus what I guess are just human-esque CPU enemies in Marathon. Those are all major differences, but I think the biggest one is probably first versus third person. Part of the reason I think Fortnite does as well as it does is you could see your character. You don't feel as claustrophobic looking around. And, you might say, well, Fortnite and Arc Raiders aren't really the same game. The stress pressure beats per minute of your heart as you get to the end of a Fortnite match, 1 versus 100, and it's you and like 4 other people and the circles closing in. It's pretty similar. I've definitely had my heart rate both when playing Arc Raiders and when playing Fortnite when I've been, doing well in Fortnite, go up and have my Apple Watch go like, hey, man, you okay? Because your heart rate is spiking and you don't seem to be moving around. And we're kind of worried that you're in distress. And it's like, yeah, I'm in distress. I'm in the top 5. Like, leave me alone. I'm working over here. Don't bother me with this health information. One more piece of numbered news. The numbering news stories will end eventually, but right now, the last one is that they're removing a 2 from Overwatch. Overwatch was a character action shooter game, live service, that was replaced by Blizzard a few years ago as Overwatch 2. So they launched a new version of Overwatch next to the original Overwatch. They had Overwatch and Overwatch 2, but they killed the old game and just said, well, Overwatch 2 is what you can play now. I hope that's great. And largely it was. Had some people that were very, confused. Why did you release a second version of this game and not let us access the old version? Why'd you do that? Well, they had their reasons. I'm not going to say they're good reasons, but they've had their reasons. And they've just dropped the 2. It's just back to Overwatch. There's no point in calling it Overwatch 2. Not anymore. And I guess they agree. That's not the big news. The big news is Overwatch, not Overwatch 2, is coming to the Switch in spring 2026 with a new season 2. So I think the dropping of the 2 in the name and the new season starts now. So they're kind of like relaunching the whole game, The relaunch includes a year-long narrative arc called The Reign of Talon, with 10 new heroes, a major UI overhaul, with a new 3D hero lobby, and a Hello Kitty collaboration. Maybe my kids are ready for Overwatch. I don't know. Yeah, so pretty good if you're into Overwatch. Some good updates, some more fresh meats. People coming in off the Switch. That was the big thing about it, is they stopped charging for it. They made it free to play. So you put the game on the Switch, you make it free to play. Didn't they? Overwatch 2 was free. Right? I have to look it up. Like, I'm pretty sure. Yes, free to play. That was the big difference. They used to charge, I think, $40. They had different versions of it with extra coins or whatever, but it was basically a $40 game for a long time when it was Overwatch, and then they made Overwatch 2. They said, we need more people. Get them in here. So Overwatch 2 and now Overwatch again is free, and it's going to be free on the Switch. So there's going to be a lot of, you open up that market. They got on the Switch 2, we just said over 17 million units sold, right? So nothing wrong with that. Good for them. Glad that's happening. Glad if you're somebody that is, into Overwatch, that you're going to have a good time, because you're going to have all kinds of new people to shoot and teach to play the objective. So good luck to everybody figuring that out. Nintendo did a partner direct this week. Lots of news for both the original Switch, with 155 million units of the original Switch being sold. You can bet they're going to put as many games as possible on there. And a bunch for the Switch 2, including some exclusives for the Switch 2. So what are some of the headlines? Then there's one game I'd like to cover a little more in detail. So they finally updated the Hollow Knight to a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, upgraded the graphics and frame rate. I don't know. Everything's supposed to just be a little bit better. Congratulations to. I abandoned my Nintendo Switch 2 save on that game a long time ago. I'm not going back. If I finish it, it'll be on the PlayStation 5. They announced a bunch of games that I don't know that they're for me. Tokyo Scramble, Paranorma Sight, The Mermaid's Curse. Okay. There's a Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition exclusively releasing on the Switch 2 on February 24th, in case you haven't played that anywhere else. To me, I was unaware. I was surprised that Pragmata is releasing exclusively on the Switch 2, in addition to the other consoles, right? It's not the Switch 1 that it's coming to. It's coming to the Switch 2 only. And the demo came out and it's been blowing people's minds. Apparently it's a really well done demo. I didn't think this one was coming out. February 27th, Resident Evil Requiem. Those tend to be like pretty, graphically intensive games, but both of those games, Pragmata and Resident Evil Requiem, are Capcom games. I think they're running on the same engine. And if they've got it tuned well for the Switch, man, the Switch 2, they could probably release games on there for a long time. Another game coming to the Switch 2, Monster Hunter Stories 3, Twisted Reflection. The demo's out there. I downloaded the demo. I played a little bit of it. It's beautiful. Like, it looks great. I think it might be the first Monster Hunter game I play. Seriously, I've played some demos before. We've also got Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. So Xbox is getting into it. May 12th. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That was the second part. Wait, is it? Yeah, I think so. June 3rd on the Switch 2. Elliot the Millennium Tales, June 18th, Switch 2. Digimon Story Time Stranger, July 10th, Switch 1 and 2. And the one that, I think I liked the most, or have liked the most, there's a bunch of other games. I tried to watch the whole thing. It was almost too much. It was like 38 minutes long. I try and watch these so you don't have to, but I got a lot going on lately. It's been difficult to try and get to all of it. But the one that I think is super neat is this game called Orbitals. They showed a little bit of Orbitals at the Game Awards over the holidays. So this is like the second trailer I think we've seen. And it looks like an old 1980s, 1990s anime in the cutscenes, but then in the gameplay, it looks like that too. It's got this super cool look if you like that, and the gameplay that they showed a lot more of really feels like, it is a 2-player, I assume single system couch co-op. Maybe they showed it using Game Share, but I don't know that it's going to be online because it's going to be the thing where you solve puzzles together. One character has something called the scrap hook, and the other one has a liquid launcher. I'm not sure how many tools they have. But you're solving a lot of challenges right side by side, but it always maintains this anime look, this little cell shaded 1980s like sci-fi anime look. So it kind of looks beautiful, I think. And you're doing split screen problem solving. And it looks a lot like the game It Takes Two or Split Fiction, which was the updated one that came out last year. Like a lot like it as far as the gameplay. I don't know how wild it gets, but it's got some style and it's coming exclusively to the Switch 2. So I don't know if it'll ever come to any other consoles. This was a partner showcase. I assume this will eventually go somewhere else because most of the stuff in the partner showcase is going everywhere. It's coming out this summer, 2026. That one looks really good, I think. I've really enjoyed playing It Takes Two with my youngest B. She loves to play that. We're almost done with it, but we keep bouncing back and forth between Overcooked 2. We beat Overcooked. Overcooked 2 we're working on, and It Takes Two and Power Wash Simulator. If you got a game that's got split screen, you can play it on the same screen, we're going to play that game, probably. Yeah. How much can I really say about about this next game, Horizon Hunters Gathering. Like, there's a lot that I'd like to say. I should admit up front a couple of things. Number one, I really like the Horizon series games. And if you're a fan of those games, then you know a couple of things. Number one, they've got a really cool sci-fi story. Number two, they're beautiful graphically. They use the Gorilla like custom engine that they have, and they just look stunning. And this new game is a Horizon game that isn't designed to look photorealistic like the other one. The other one was stylized. The main series games are stylized, but they look very realistic. And the faces look like, you can zoom in, that they look amazing. This one kind of looks like more of a cartoon. Not like the Lego game cartoon. And matter of fact, when you look at the robots that you're going to be hunting, because we'll talk about the gameplay here in a minute. They kind of look like they do in the main game. But once you see the characters, once you see Aloy and whatever that other dude's name is that's in all the games, they look a little bit like every Blizzard Pixar character / Fortnite. And they've gotten a lot of criticism over it during the week since they announced it, because it looks a little too like everything's super cool. Everybody's got this, super expressive face all the time, and they're always kind of giving you the eyebrows. And, my take on that is that they're trying to make these appeal to a much wider audience than I can't recall really if Horizon is M for mature, but you do end up fighting a lot of humans in there. And as a result, I can't play it in front of my kids. It's just too much for now, because you're doing bow and arrow and like taking people out. And most of the time it's you versus, the robot dinosaurs, but not always. And when you do have to fight other humans in those games, it's always gut-wrenching and excruciating. It's always like, I wish we didn't have to fight, but here we are. And I wish, people weren't still evil in the apocalypse, but here we are. And so I think my supposition is that they're going to do two things. One, they're going to take out the human to human fighting in this game. And they're going to just have it only be you defending humanity against the robots. And if that's true, then they're probably in a great spot, because then I can play with my kids and a lot of other people can play with their kids. That's a big deal. So we'll see if that's the case. They didn't say when it's coming out. They're going to do a closed play test through the PlayStation beta program. They say, hey, yeah, we're Guerrilla Games. We know about making like single player games. We know that's what you really want. That's what we're going to do. Fine. But we're also going to release this game, and we're big enough to do both. Fine. We'll see. But you say it's true, so maybe it's true. Nobody wants some studio that makes their favorite single player game to turn into a studio that makes live service games, because live service, if it gets a hit, becomes all encompassing, because why not service the live service game? This is the talk about what was going to have happened with The Last of Us. The Last of Us was going to have The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2. And somewhere in there, either before The Last of Us 2 came out, or maybe it was supposed to be right after, not Sony Santa Monica, whoever makes it, studio name eludes me. It's late at night. But they were supposed to make a live service game of The Last of Us. And they did not. Either the game didn't do well in internal playtesting, or it did very well, but the studio just said no. Unlikely. But anyway, they pulled the game and they didn't make it. And so instead, now they're making, Intergalactic, which we've seen some previews of, but haven't seen much else of. And it's going to be another huge single player game, we think. We'll find out. But a live service game can eat a whole studio's worth of talent, because if people are really playing it and buying it, then why wouldn't you make more content for it? That's where the money's at. The money's there. Let's service the audience that's hungry for more content. Like, why would you get in the way of that? You wouldn't. You would support it. And pretty soon it would be very difficult to turn around and support anything else. And starting up a huge multi-year, multi-million-dollar investment for a single player game would be nigh on impossible to get done. So I understand where people are coming from if they say, look, I don't want Guerrilla to not make single player games. I don't want them to make a live service game, because it could eat that studio and maybe I'll never get Horizon 3, which maybe is what I really want. And the reason we care about Horizon at all is because there was a 1, some DLC, a 2, some DLC. I guess there was a VR game. But if people that came to the party because of Horizon single player games aren't getting serviced by them anymore, and then instead they're getting live serviced, there's that feeling of like, what are you doing to the studio? What are you doing to this third game in the franchise I wanted? They didn't say Horizon 3 is coming, but they said, look, we know what you really wanted, the Guerrilla games. We know you want single player games, and that's what we love too. That's how we started. That's how we're going to keep going. So they spoke to that without details. I want to believe that's true, but like everybody else that's a little bit worried about it, I'm not worried about the art style. It's fine. They're going to want to run it in PC and in PS5, but maybe somewhere else. If it's a big enough game, why wouldn't it be like Helldivers or any of these other games? They wanted Concord to run everywhere, probably eventually. Mobile phones. Let's get it on mobile. Let's get it on the low power version of the PS5 that's going to turn into a handheld, maybe. Maybe the real PlayStation Portable coming out, right? Why wouldn't they do that? So the art style is whatever, because it's going to be live service. I think if they do a Horizon 3, it's going to be, the next iteration of that Guerrilla engine. But we'll see. The gameplay sure sounds like Monster Hunters, right? Tactical 3-player co-op action game. It does say 2 game modes: Machine Incursion, which is wave-based with boss fights, and a Cauldron Descent, multi-stage trials with ever-changing rooms. So actually, that sounds different. That's not like an open world where you go hunting. That sounds like you're going to start a game mode and do wave-based fights or a dungeon, effectively. I think it'll probably be fine. The real question I have is, what's the price? And what's it going to be rated? It looks like it's going to be T for teen at worst, maybe a E10. That would be a big deal. Can you make it as open as Fortnite? And can you get it priced right? Is it at the most competitive price point in gaming? Is it going to be $39.99? Or is it going to be something else? I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, if you're interested in this, let me know. I'd be very interested to see the people who are interested in it. Okay, something else that came across the old desk, the old video game desk, is a game that I would have a hard time describing to you if you haven't played some really old Game & Watch video games. The old LCD like games where it kind of looked like it had like an overlay of like, art that would never, it would just light up the part of the, you know what? I'll just show you. If you're on the video version of the show, take a look-see. If you're not, go look up the words Future Night. Future Night, which is exactly what it sounds like. Future Night. No, it's not exactly what it sounds like. Future is what it sounds like. Night is Knight. And this is a weird little game. I had never I don't know where I saw this, somewhere on Threads maybe. I think it's gonna be everywhere. I think yeah, Steam, Xbox, PS5, Nintendo Switch, and there might be a demo out there on Steam. There's boss fights. There's an apocalypse countdown timer on this game. There is this really cool, it looks like an old Game and Watch kind of game that you would get from KB Toys in 1989. It looks like somebody's drawn with pen over the top of an LCD screen to make these the little characters run. It's I don't know. I should have practiced describing this game before I got on this show. I think you almost just have to go see it. If you know what Game and Watch games are, fine. If you know what just really old, cheap, handheld Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or basketball games look like, maybe you've got something there. But it looks crazy, absolutely crazy. I can't believe something like this exists. So look, just you go look it up. Let me just give that to you as a gift. Go look up Future Knight, KNIGHT. Okay, you've made it to the end of the show, and I've been promising since the beginning that we're going to talk about a new segment called Arc Raiders Confessional. Bless me, Shani. I may have done something topside that I just need to get off my chest, and I'm hoping that someone can absolve me. So, in the last week, look, let me start with, if you play Arc Raiders, then you already know all the words that I'm going to say. Probably you probably thought about this stuff yourself. If you don't play Arc Raiders and you haven't been listening to the show until today, Arc Raiders is a video game where everybody lives underground because it's the post-apocalyptic future where robots are topside and you go up topside to scavenge things, technology that's been left on the surface, to bring it back down so everybody can survive. So you go up there and get seeds and plants and technology to survive. But when you're topside, there's enemies out there called the Ark. There are all these robots that are out there to fight you, find you and fight you. And then there's these raiders. You're a raider and you're out there to go gather materials. There's other raiders up there and they're also up there to gather materials. And at any time, anyone can kill anybody. The Ark can kill you. You can kill the Ark, or other raiders can kill each other. And you can do all kinds of like there's proximity chat. You can talk to other people. And so there's a whole social element of not knowing whether someone is going to try and get after your stuff, or whether they don't know if you're going to try and get after their stuff, or you might collaborate, take down some big nasty Ark enemies. And sometimes you just get shot in the back walking around and somebody picks up, the Ark power cell and a toaster that you were carrying. So I did one bad thing, which is I threw a lure grenade at another raider. And a lure grenade is what it sounds like. It lures other Ark next to wherever the grenade's at. So I lured a big bastion, a big, huge walking tank towards another raider because I was like, well, this seems fun. I'll just do that on a whim. And I felt bad because that bastion started shooting off missiles and it was firing its machine gun. And then I went in and helped that raider that I basically set up to kill the bastion. And then we had a great talk. For some reason, they didn't realize I did that to them. And I was like, you know what? They were really cool. They even gave me a bastion. So they're like, you know what, buddy? You have it. Thanks for helping out in the fight. Felt bad. And if you shoot at other raiders in here, especially if you shoot first, the developers say, look, we know, number one, that you shot first. And two, we're going to pair you up with other people that shoot first for a little while. Aggression-based matchmaking, they call it. Anyway, I felt like I was absolved. The other person forgave me, even though they didn't know. They gave me a bastion cell. They didn't have to do that, but they did. And we talked. We had a great time. And then the other night, I was in Spaceport with a buddy. and we could hear people on the floor above us. We're crouching through, trying to get our quest done, searching through cabinets in the medical building of the spaceport. And we can hear these people like climbing around above us. And my buddy said, we got rats in the ceiling. And that's when I knew that we were going to fight these people and that we were going to shoot first and take whatever other cool stuff they found in the spaceport. And so we creeped around, crawling quietly up the stairs. They got into a fight with some ARC that were up there, so they were preoccupied. And we shot first. Because you can take their stuff. Whatever they found is now yours if you get the drop on them. And so we got the drop on them. And it was the first time I'd ever attacked other raiders unprovoked. And I realized that I was feeling feelings about doing that. I was like, when I talk with my kids about like not breaking stuff, it's like, oh, well, I broke my toothbrush and you just buy me another one, Dad. And it's like, wait a second. Dad and Mom, when we go to work, we're trading our life energy for money. We're trading our life energy for money to buy the toothbrush. So don't feel bad, but don't break stuff unnecessarily, because then you're effectively asking me to spend my life energy replacing something that didn't need to be replaced, right? Not a good use of your life energy, right? A lot of good reasons to use your life energy in interesting and useful ways. And sometimes you have to do it just to eat. And that's the trade that people have to make. But so when raiders spend time gathering up a bunch of stuff and then we shoot them for it, it feels like I'm not just taking their stuff. They spent 20 minutes on a run topside and I took all of their goop, they call it. They call the loot goop in that game. Don't know why. That's the colloquial common term is goop. I took their goop. And it makes me feel like I took a little bit of their life energy as a result. And they were not happy. They put on that proximity chat and they had a lot to say. And 2 other raiders came up out of nowhere, unaffiliated with the first group. And they realized what they walked in on, which was an ambush. And we turned and fired on them too. And so what started as taking out 2 raiders turned into taking out 4 raiders. But dear listener, let me just tell you something, because I was already feeling guilty. I was looking for some absolution. I was looking for some forgiveness, and there was none to be found in the downed raiders and all of their gear. But then I look a little more closely and what's inside their gear. They had a lot of extra weapons and augments. And if you know what that means that they had been out killing other raiders first. And it wouldn't be the first time those augments had passed through from one person's inventory to another that match. And so were we just selfishly stealing their life energy and their goop? Or were we sent by Shani or Celeste or one of the other traders down below on a hit job to take those people that were hunting other raiders down? Look, I'm not going to say that we're innocent, but neither were they. That's my Arc Raiders confession for the week. If you've played Arc Raiders dirty, let me know. I would love to hear about it. That's the show, everybody. Thank you so much for listening this week. Especially late. Those of you that hopped on live with me, listening late, appreciate you. Let me know what you think of the episode. Share with a friend. Go to the Patreon, patreon.com/TheAndyB Show to never get separated because some algorithm got in between us. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and let me know what you're playing this week. Thank you for listening. See you next time.